I'm just a regular guy. I'm also the son of one of the most powerful men in New York City. The problem is, my old man has more illegitimate kids than he can count. My mother, worried I'd end up as a target in some back alley power play, decided to hide me in plain sight. So I went to a normal high school in Queens, live a normal life, and tried my best to be a normal teenager. But even as a nobody, I still managed to attract the wrong kind of attention. The queen bee of Franklin High kicked my feet out from under me, sending me sprawling to the linoleum floor. She stood over me, crowing about how she was about to get engaged to the heir of the Sterling family fortune. What she didn't know was that the guy she was talking about was me. My name is Caleb Jensen. Jensen is my mom's last name. I grew up in a pre-war apartment in a decent school district in Queens, no different from any other kid on the block. The only thing was, I'd never met my father. My mom always said he was a brilliant, powerful son of a bitch, but he never once came to see us, so what good was all that power? To me, he was just the son of a bitch part. You could just pretend he's dead, my mom would often say, a flinty edge to her voice. She raised me on her own, and she wasn't like the other moms. She was always impeccably dressed, moving with an elegance that you didn't see in PTA meetings. She ran our home with a set of rules that went far beyond homework. She taught me about business strategy, about how to read people, about how to survive. She was busy running her own company, she said, but whenever a school form asked for parental occupations, she told me to write salaried employee. And for every parent-teacher conference, it was always our housekeeper, Maria, who went in her place. Naturally, the kids at school assumed Maria was my mom. Rumors flew. Some said I was a late-in-life baby. Others whispered I was an orphan she'd taken in. The most creative theory was that my dad was a murderer doing life in prison. Let them talk, my mom told me, her gaze steady. Just be yourself. I nodded. I just had to be Caleb Jensen. But hanging over my bed was a framed newspaper clipping. The headline, in bold font, screamed across the page. Prince of Sterling Holdings born. Family celebrates naming of Leo Sterling. The birthday of a New York Titan son was the exact same as mine. Franklin High wasn't a magnet school, but it was a place where hardworking kids could claw their way to a better future. It was a battleground where kids from ordinary families fought for a shot at rewriting their destiny. I was holding my own, consistently ranked in the top 3 of my class. But I was never number 1. Learn to hide your strengths, my mom had instructed. I could be second, third, even last, but never first. Did you guys hear? Leo Sterling is turning 18 soon. I bet every major player in the city will be at his birthday party, a classmate chattered during the break. I was slumped over my desk, trying to catch a few minutes of sleep, tuning them out. That's old news, a sharp voice cut in. Besides, our families have already arranged our engagement. What? The classroom erupted in a chorus of shrieks. The speaker was Tiffany Roth, the daughter of some nouveau riche developer. She'd been held back a year and, armed with her family's influence, lorded over Franklin High like a tyrant. Anyone who crossed her risked getting their head shoved in a toilet. The teachers and principal turned a blind eye. Her family's donations to the school were too generous to ignore. Oh my God, you're engaged to Leo Sterling? Do you even have to take the SATs? She's marrying into Sterling Holdings. Why would she need college? Tiffany's most loyal follower, Veronica Dunn, chimed in loudly. Exactly. Tiffany's going to be the next queen of New York. Don't forget about us when you're on top. The classroom buzzed as everyone flocked around Tiffany, feeding her ego with compliments. A smug smile spread across her face. Excuse me, you're on my desk. A voice, calm and clear, cut through the noise. I cracked an eye open. A tall, slender figure stood in a shaft of sunlight, facing Tiffany. It was my class president, the one person who beat me on every single exam, the undisputed school number 1, Maya Torres. Oh look, it's the class president. So sorry, Tiffany said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. She deliberately ground her heel into Maya's desk. Her moment in the spotlight had been ruined, and knowing Tiffany, she'd make Maya pay for it. Disrupting class, creating a disturbance, improper conduct on school furniture, Maya announced, her voice ringing with authority. Tiffany, that's a 3-point deduction from your conduct grade for the month. Maya was the only one in school who ever dared to stand up to Tiffany. The class president and the queen bee, they clashed constantly. Maya, I haven't put you in your place in a while. You getting brave? Tiffany sneered, getting in Maya's face. Threatening a classmate. That's another 5 points, Maya said, her expression unchanged. You little bitch, I've had it with you. Tiffany snatched a textbook from a desk and hurled it at Maya, her hand flying up to slap her. Good morning, Mr. Davison, I shouted suddenly, looking toward the door. Good morning, sir. The rest of the class, conditioned like Pavlov's dogs, echoed my greeting. Our homeroom teacher, Mr. Davison, was indeed standing there. He'd been watching the whole thing unfold for a while without intervening. Ahem. Well, class, let's get started, he mumbled, shuffling in with his coffee mug, pretending he'd just arrived. Tiffany dropped her hand, shooting a venomous glare at Maya. You just wait, she hissed before stalking away. My mom always told me to keep my head down and stay out of other people's business, but I couldn't stand watching Maya get bullied. Besides, if everyone just let people like Tiffany walk all over them, more people would suffer. Even though all I did was shout a warning, it was enough. After school, I found a valve stems on my bike's tires had been pulled out. It was parked in the school's bike rack. I knew it was Tiffany and her crew. I had no choice but to push my bike home. As I passed through the narrow alley I always used as a shortcut, I heard voices. You little bitch, you think you can act tough with me? Just because you're class president, you think you're hot shit? Have you forgotten the last time I beat your ass? In the alley, Tiffany and a few of her friends were kicking and punching Maya, who was curled up on the ground. Her hair was a mess, her glasses shattered beside her. She wasn't fighting back. Well, if it isn't the hero, Tiffany's crew sneered when they saw me. Look at this loser, trying to play hero for a girl. It's pathetic, Veronica Dunn laughed, pointing at me. You like being a hero so much? Go ahead, save her again, Tiffany taunted, grinding her foot onto Maya's hand. I saw Maya flinch in pain, but she bit her lip and didn't make sound. Hey, can you get up? I yelled to her, ignoring Tiffany completely. That just made her angrier. What the hell? You think you can just ignore me? She let go of Maya and stormed toward me, kicking out hard. I wasn't ready. The blow sent me to the ground. Tiffany planted her foot on my head, while Veronica started kicking me relentlessly. A stray cat, startled by the commotion, darted past, and Tiffany kicked it away without a second thought. I was about to fight back when Maya, who had been silent and still, suddenly sprang to her feet. She lunged at Tiffany from behind, grabbed a fistful of her hair, and yanked her violently to the ground. Tiffany lost her balance and crashed down in a heap. I had never seen a girl with such explosive strength. Maya spat on the ground near Tiffany, looking down at her. Her voice was quiet but deadly. I've been putting up with you for a long time. I didn't expect it, but Maya took down Tiffany and her friends in a matter of seconds. They were left whimpering on the ground. She was a completely different person from the girl who had been taking a beating just moments before. You just fucking wait. Tiffany and Veronica scrambled away, shouting threats over their shoulders. But when Maya clenched her fist and took a step toward them, they bolted without looking back. Wow, I had no idea you could fight like that, I said, my jaw still hanging open. She bent down, picking up the broken pieces of her glasses, and squinted at me. What did you say? Her eyesight must have been terrible, because she clearly couldn't hear well either. I was starting to think those glasses were some kind of seal on her power. The moment they came off, she turned into a superhero. I said, if you can fight like that, why did you let Tiffany and her crew push you around before? I shouted. She finally heard me and shrugged nonchalantly. For the money. Money. I was confused. It turned out that as much of a menace as Tiffany was, she always paid her way out of trouble. She'd throw cash at her victims to shut them up, which was how she got away with everything. Same deal when she beats me up. After she's done, she'll toss me a few $100. But I trailed off, looking at her casual expression. I couldn't believe she'd willingly take a beating for money. It's just a few punches. No big deal. I can take it, she said with another shrug. Then why did you fight back this time? I had to ask. Because of you, she said, glancing back at me, a hint of exasperation in her voice. Me? If you hadn't gotten involved, I would have missed out on that cash. I couldn't help but let out a short, incredulous laugh. So it's my fault? I knew what she was doing. She was trying to make it so I wouldn't feel guilty. Still, she added, thanks though. I watched her crouch down, picking up the shattered remnants of her glasses. Hey, they're totally wrecked. Just leave them. It's fine. I can probably glue some of the pieces back together. I'll make do. Make do with that. Just get a new pair. I'll have to wait, she said, trying on the twisted frames. Haven't gotten paid for my part-time job this month. I'd heard from classmates that Maya's family was struggling. They used to be well off, but her father's business went bankrupt and he fell seriously ill. The family was scraping by on disability checks and whatever she could earn from working after school. That was why she studied so hard to stay number one, to get the scholarship money every semester. Forget it. Come on, I'll get you a new pair. I dragged her to an optometry shop near the mall. She looked at me suspiciously. Where are you going to get the money for that? You questioning my finances? I pushed the door open and gestured grandly. Pick whatever you want. I regretted it almost immediately. A decent pair of glasses in this place cost hundreds of dollars. Maya was already in the exam room, so I had no choice but to grit my teeth and pull out the allowance I've been saving for 3 months. Turns out, playing the big shot CEO from the novels wasn't as easy as it looked. Are these expensive? Maybe we should just go, Maya whispered to me. Not at all. It's nothing, I said, quickly hiding the receipt. How about these? Do they look good? She tried on a pair of frames without any lenses, and for a second, she looked different. It was the first time I'd really looked at her closely. Her skin was fair, and she had a few charming freckles under her long eyelashes. Yeah, they look great. She smiled, pleased. Okay, I'll pay you back as soon as I get my paycheck. You don't have to. No way. Business is business. I have to pay you back, she insisted, grabbing my sleeve. Then consider it a salary, I said. Salary? Yeah, I'm hiring you as my bodyguard. I was just joking, not thinking anything of it. What kind of guy makes a girl pay him back for a gift? But Maya took it seriously. She actually started acting like my bodyguard. She walked with me to and from school, and during the day, she was always somewhere in my line of sight. She was one step away from following me into the men's room. Maybe you don't have to be my bodyguard anymore, I said tentatively one day, but Maya's expression turned serious. Are you firing me? Fine. Never mind, I muttered, not having the heart to argue when she looked so earnest. One morning, during first period, I arrived at school to find my and Maya's belongings thrown into the hallway. Books and papers were scattered everywhere. It didn't take a genius to figure out Tiffany and her crew were behind it. Ever since Maya had turned the tables on them in the alley, they've been making trouble for us nonstop. A bug in Maya's water bottle. One of my chair legs sawed shorter than the others. Dirty toilet paper stuffed in our desks. Tiffany seemed to think these childish pranks were the ultimate revenge. I just found them pathetic. I saw Maya kneeling on the floor, her expression blank as she silently gathered her books. Her perfect test paper, a full 100, was marred by several dirty shoe prints. A torn-up workbook with my name on it lay nearby. It was the homework due today. Well, look what we have here. The freak and the 4 eyes. A voice jeered, followed by a wave of laughter. It was Tiffany and Veronica, obviously. Maya didn't react, just kept her head down and continued picking up her things. One's a psycho and the other's blind. They really are a perfect match, they taunted. I ignored them and walked over to Maya. Leave it. Maya Torres, Caleb Jensen, my office. Now, Mr. Davison's voice echoed from the end of the hall. Tiffany had reported us to him, accusing us of dating. You two are a profound disappointment, Mr. Davison said, taking a sip of his tea and rubbing his balding head. Do you know what time this is? You're seniors. The SATs are just around the corner. How could you do something like this? I had such high hopes for both of you. You can't let me down. He lectured us with a mix of reason and emotion, trying to make us see the error of our ways. Once you're accused of something, any explanation sounds like an excuse. Maya and I both knew that, so we just stood there in silence, letting him lecture us through the entire first period. We were punished by being forced to stand for the rest of the day, one at the front door of the classroom, the other at the back. Tiffany and Veronica mockingly called us the door gods and led the class in laughing at us. Dating at your age? Have you no shame? Class, don't be like them. After school, Maya still walked home with me. We just got called out by the teacher, and you're still following me? A deal's a deal. Besides, there's nothing going on between us anyway, she said, her tone light, completely unfazed. If she insisted on coming, I couldn't stop her. You could just drop me off here today, I said when we reached my apartment building's entrance. Usually, she walked me all the way to my door. We're already here. What's another minute? She said, heading into the complex. I shook my head and followed. Why don't you just walk me all the way to my apartment? I joked. She actually waved her hand dismissively. I can't do that, sir. This bodyguard is only responsible for your safety on this route. Escorting you upstairs falls under the category of close protection detail. She paused, her eyes glinting shrewdly behind her glasses. And that costs extra. Wait, where did you learn all this? Novels. I was speechless. You should read less of that junk. I waved goodbye and headed upstairs. The lights in my building's hallway were the old, sound-activated kind. But today, for some reason, the lights on the first and second floors were out. No matter how hard I stomped, they wouldn't turn on. Weird, I muttered, pulling out my keys. Standing in front of my door, I habitually glanced at the peephole. It was completely dark. A cold feeling washed over me. Micah told me someone was inside. My mom was out of town for a few days, so it was just me and Maria at home. But I usually ate at the school cafeteria, so Maria didn't live with us. She came by every other day to clean, and today was her day off. The apartment should have been empty, and I had a habit. Every morning before leaving, I would turn on the entryway light. Normally, you could see the glow through the peephole from the outside, but not today. It was as if something was blocking it. I bolted down the stairs. As I hit the first floor landing, I heard footsteps echoing from above. I didn't have time to think. I yanked open the main door and sprinted outside. But the second I was out, a strong hand grabbed me and pulled me sideways. The force was so powerful I couldn't resist, and I was dragged into the bushes. A cold hand clamped over my mouth, silencing me. I wouldn't have dared to make a sound anyway, because a figure in a black hoodie emerged from my building's entrance. The person was tall and broad-shouldered, clearly a man. He wore his hood up and a mask over his face, obscuring his features. But in his hand, he clutched a dagger. Hidden in the bushes, I was out of his sight. He scanned the area, then ran off toward a narrow side street. After a few moments, when he didn't return, I looked behind me. As I suspected, the person who had covered my mouth was Maya. "Is he gone?" she whispered. I nodded. She released her hand. Phew, that was close. He almost saw us. Maya breathed a sigh of relief. But it would have been fine if he had. I was ready to take my glasses off. "Take your glasses off?" I asked, confused. "I'm a super fighter when I take my glasses off, remember?" "Right. What are you still doing here?" I whispered. "I'm your bodyguard. I have to do my job right," she said. "Every day, I wait until I see you go upstairs and turn on your bedroom light before I leave. But I waited forever today, and your light never came on. Then I heard you running out, and it sounded like someone was chasing you. I never imagined she would be so dedicated. Wait, you didn't learn all this from your novels, did you?" She nodded. I gave her a thumbs up. "Good reading." We hid in the bushes for a while longer, making sure the man was truly gone before we dared to come out. Who the hell was that? I muttered to myself. I didn't know how he got into my apartment, but it was clear he was after me. I turned to Maya, apologetic. "I'm sorry I got you involved in this." She just looked at me, puzzled. "Haven't you heard about the serial killer on the loose? The news has been all over it." Her tone was dead serious. "And they say he specifically targets young boys like you." I was at a loss for words. I was about to turn 18. How was I a young boy? Still, I had to thank her. If it weren't for Maya, I might have been dead. "Thank you for saving me." I didn't know what that man's motive was, but the gleaming dagger in his hand told me it wasn't anything good. I didn't go home that night. I found a 24-hour spawn nearby and crashed on a bench in the locker room. After a restless night, I called my mom first thing in the morning to tell her what happened. "Why didn't you tell me last night?" Her voice was sharp with anxiety. "You told me never to call you at night." There was a pause on the other end. She had, in fact, said that. "Don't go to school today. I'll have a driver pick you up later." The line went dead. I thought about that newspaper clipping over my bed, the one about the birth of the Sterling heir, Leo Sterling. A suspicion I'd often had crept back. Was I Leo Sterling? My mother had arranged for me to stay in a hotel for a few days. School was out of the question. She called in sick for me. I never stayed in a place like this. The lobby ceiling was 3 stories high, dominated by a massive, glittering crystal chandelier. I counted the zeros on the price list by the reception desk. The most expensive suite was a 5-figure number per night. I'd never seen that much money in my life. "Good afternoon, sir. I can help you with your luggage to your room," the bellhop said, extending a hand. I clutched my backpack, filled with textbooks, a little awkwardly. "No, that's okay. Thanks." "Very good, sir. Enjoy your stay." He turned and walked away, and I felt a pang of regret. I had no idea where my room was. How was I supposed to get there? I looked down at the key card in my hand. 8712. Did this hotel really have 87 floors? I finally found the elevator. I was marveling at how it automatically selected the floor after I swiped my card when a familiar voice rang out. Hey, 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 hold the door." Just as the doors were about to close, a high-heeled shoe shot into the gap. I said, "Hold the door. Can't you help a person out?" I met the eyes of the person outside. It was Tiffany Roth. "Holy shit," she swore under her breath when she saw me. "What's wrong, babe?" A man came up behind her, old enough to be her uncle. He casually wrapped an arm around her waist and stepped into the elevator with her. Tiffany quickly wiped the surprise from her face. "Nothing," she muttered, avoiding my gaze once inside. I stood behind her, taking her in. She was wearing a tight pencil skirt and heels, completely inappropriate for her age. Her makeup was heavy and mature. You'd never guess she was a high school senior. Ding! The elevator arrived at the 6th floor. Tiffany and the man walked out, his hand shamelessly squeezing her rear. They started kissing as they walked down the hall. TSK, TSK. It was strange to see her here, but seeing her act like this wasn't surprising at all. I went back to my room with my backpack and got back to studying. The next morning, after breakfast in the downstairs restaurant, I was walking back to my room when I saw Tiffany again at the end of the hallway. She had a freshly lit cigarette between her fingers, exhaling smoke like a seasoned pro. This definitely wasn't her first time. "What are you doing here?" she asked, tilting her head at me. What are you doing here? I shot back. It was Wednesday morning, 9:30 a.m. She should have been in English class, not here getting groped by some old guy. I took a few days off. A girl's got to have some fun, she said, taking another drag. Never thought I'd see a loser like you in a place like this. There's a lot you wouldn't think of. Who the hell do you think you are, talking to me like that? I ignored her and walked toward the elevator. This was a hotel, a civilized place. She wouldn't dare attack me in public, right? If she laid a single finger on me, I'd drop to the floor and play dead. I could probably sue her for a few $1,000s. She did start walking toward me, but a staff member intercepted her. Ma'am, this is a non-smoking area. Please extinguish your cigarette. Thank you for your cooperation. She was stopped, but she yelled after me. You keep your mouth shut. If you tell anyone you saw me here, you'll regret it. I got on the elevator. Just as the doors were closing, I flipped her the bird. It was something I'd learned from her and her friends. Outside, she was practically hopping with rage. I didn't go back to school for a few days, just studied on my own in the hotel. Finally, my mom sent someone to pick me up. I knew that meant it was safe to go home. Back at school, my classmates were curious about where I'd been, envious that I got a break. Only Maya ran up to me, her face etched with concern. Are you okay? You didn't lose any limbs, did you? I heard you were sick. What happened? Brain damage, I deadpanned. Not funny. If your name isn't right below mine on the next grade report, I won't know what to do with myself, she said, waving the latest list of class rankings. The results were out, and Maya and I were once again number 1 and 2. This time it was a citywide practice exam, and our rankings were high across all of New York. It made our principal look good. He called us both into his office for a special commendation. Your results were truly outstanding. Keep up the great work. Mr. Davison stood beside him, beaming, his coffee mug in hand. Principal, I think we should have them prepare a school-wide presentation, share our class's study methods with everyone. Just a few days ago, he was condemning us for dating. Now, he wanted to put us on a stage as role models. Both of us? On stage together? Sir, is that really a good idea? I asked. Mr. Davison completely missed my sarcastic undertone. What's not good about it? You two are the pride of our class. And just like that, we were the shining examples of our class again. You're the impressive one, always managing to hold on to second place, Maya teased as we left the office. Is that a compliment or an insult? Ever since the incident in the bushes, our friendship had grown closer. She didn't just walk me home from school anymore. We'd sometimes spend weekends studying together in Forest Park. We found a secluded gazebo that became our secret base. Here, kitty, 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 Maya would whisper, shaking a bag of cat food. Soon, cats would emerge from all directions. White ones, orange ones, calicos, tuxedos. Maya always brought them a meal. You're feeding them so much they look like little beach balls, I commented, watching the round. Furry creatures gobble up the food. Meow. One particularly plump cat seemed to understand me. It trotted over and started sharpening its claws on my sneakers. Hey, he's attacking me. Aren't you going to do something? I said to Maya. Serves you right for calling him fat, she replied, bending down to scratch its belly. She'd said the same thing last time, and the time before that, and the time before that. I thought days like these would go on forever. Then, one sunny afternoon, as we were reading our books, she spoke without looking up. I'm moving back home. For some reason, my heart dropped. Why are you going back? My family isn't from here. I can't take my final exams in the city. I gently pushed away the fat cat that was still using my shoe as a scratching post. It took me a moment to find my voice. When are you leaving? In about 2 weeks. So, you'll miss the next mock exam. Yeah, it's a shame. A shame about what? I looked up at her. She smiled at me. It was a beautiful smile. A shame I'll never get to see you rank first. I looked down, mumbling, I can't beat you anyway. That's not true. I felt her gaze on me. I've been in the same exam room as you. I've seen you. You always leave the last multiple choice and fill in the blank questions empty. I didn't say anything. You do it on purpose, don't you? What college do you want to go to? I changed the subject awkwardly, but she didn't press. She said she wanted to go south. I had always assumed she'd aim for a top university in New York, like Columbia or NYU, since she'd spent so many years here. It's boring here. I'm tired of it, she said, and I could never afford to buy a place. There's nothing for me to stay for. I see. What about you? Me? I didn't really have any plans. My whole life had been mapped out for me by my mom. I don't know. Isn't there anything you want to do? Something I want to do. I lay back on the bench, and a fat cat jumped onto my chest. I stroked its fur and stared up at the clear blue sky. I want to. We made plans to have a farewell get-together the weekend before she left, but we never made it to that weekend. I had to leave first. My mom was transferring me to another school. It happened suddenly. I didn't tell anyone. Not even Maya. It's not like I had any friends at school anyway. My mom never let me get close to anyone. The only person I was close to was Maya. I heard she looked for me for days, asking around, trying to find out which school I transferred to. She wanted to know why I'd left without a word, but I never got the chance to tell her. The day we were supposed to meet for her farewell, we had planned to go to a Pizza Hut. I didn't show up, but I know she was there, because I was sitting in a car across the street, watching her through the window. I saw her fussing with the pizza and drinks on the table, trying to arrange them neatly. That's when I noticed the small cake sitting next to her. When it's my birthday, it's my treat. Don't you dare try to pay. Her voice echoed in my memory. I had forgotten. Today was her birthday. Suddenly, it started to rain. I pressed my face against the car window, her figure becoming blurry through the downpour. Goodbye, Maya. I finally knew for sure. I was the person everyone whispered about, the heir to the Sterling fortune. Leo Sterling. My parents' marriage was a business merger. After they tied the knot, my father showed his true colors, chasing after anything in a skirt. My mother's family, the Jensens, were powerful in their own right with Jensen Industries, but aligning with my father was their best strategic move. In a family where profit was everything, my birth made me a target from day one. So my mother made a deal with my father. No matter how many affairs he had, the Sterling family would have one, and only one, legitimate son, me. And when I turned 18, I would be named the sole heir to my father's empire. My father, knowing he was in the wrong, had to agree. Besides, he wasn't about to cut off the powerful alliance with the Jensens for some illegitimate kid he barely knew. The day my mother walked out of the Sterling estate with me in her arms, I was just a crying infant. Until he's 18, she had declared, I'll raise Leo myself. So, my 18th birthday wasn't just a birthday. It was the official handover of Sterling Holdings. A lot of people were watching this day very closely. Everyone except me. I finally met my father. It was the first time I could remember seeing him. His meticulously combed hair was streaked with silver, the lines on his face carved by years of authority. His lips were pressed into a thin, firm line, adding to his air of silent power. I sat beside him, feeling completely out of place. We were father and son, yet we were more like strangers. The dining table's lazy Susan was bigger than my living room back in Queens. My mother sat across from both of us, a silent observer. Mr. S. I almost called him by his last name, but a sharp glare from my mother made the word die in my throat. Dad, how old are you this year? The man, Arthur Sterling, asked. He didn't seem to notice my slip-up. His voice was softer than his severe expression suggested. 17. I answered dutifully. Oomph. A cold snort came from my mother. He turns 18 in a few days. How old do you think he is? Arthur Sterling paused for a moment, then changed the subject. What grade are you in? A senior. The words squeezed out of me. All right, 17. You would be a senior. I gave a stiff nod, hoping the conversation would end there. But he continued, You've gotten so tall. He raised his hand as if to pat my head. If you have nothing to say, you don't have to speak, my mother said coolly. Arthur Sterling retracted his hand. Just then, a man in a sharp suit entered and whispered something respectfully in my father's ear. I noticed Arthur's demeanor instantly shift, becoming as serious as his reputation. It seemed he only softened in front of my mother. No, that wasn't right. It was more like submission. You'll come back to the estate with me tonight, Arthur said, looking at me, but the words were for my mother. My mother shot him a withering look. Why? No. I had heard the Sterling estate was massive, big enough to swallow my entire Queens neighborhood whole. But I'd never been, and my mother never let me go. It wasn't until the night before my 18th birthday that I was finally brought there, and then I understood why she kept me away. It was because of all the other women living there. Is that one of his mistresses? I couldn't help but ask the butler, Mr. Zhang, pointing to a woman across the lawn. Mr. Zhang followed my gaze. The woman was elegantly dressed, looking to be in her early 30s. She was holding the hand of a toddler who was just learning to walk. I wondered if it was my father's child. Another, even younger woman stood beside her. Mr. Zhang started counting on his fingers. That would be number 7 and number 8. I knew my father was a philanderer, but hearing the actual number was still a shock. Is it even legal? I thought the days of concubines were long over. The chairman is not legally married to any of them. They simply reside here together. No wonder my mother left. A whole soccer team's worth of mistresses and their children living under one roof? Who could stand that? The only legal wife is Madame Jensen. Mr. Zhang emphasized. Right. My father wasn't in the wrong. He didn't want to give every woman a home. Mr. Zhang, is this my little brother? A cheerful voice broke in. A man in his early 20s, dressed in designer streetwear, approached us. He was casually twirling a set of car keys with a bull logo on them. I later learned this was my half-brother, Dylan Sterling. "This is not the young master, mister," Zhang said, pulling me closer to him. "This is my cousin's nephew. He's studying in the city, and his family asked me to look after him during the holidays." "Oh, is that so?" Dylan's initial enthusiasm vanished. His eyes scanned me from head to toe, a dismissive look on his face. To be fair, in my wrinkled hoodie and a backpack with a broken zipper, I looked nothing like a Sterling. Dylan didn't ask any more questions and walked off, clearly not wanting to waste another second on me. "Madam's orders, mister," Zheng explained quietly. "You are not to reveal your identity to anyone." My mother was still keeping me under wraps. On the day of my 18th birthday party, media from all over the city flocked to the Sterling estate. Everyone wanted to get a glimpse of the mysterious heir. "Mister," Zheng had a suit prepared for me. I stood in front of the mirror, looking at my own young, uncertain face. I felt like a kid stuffed into a grown-up's clothes. It was the first time I'd ever worn something like this. I didn't know much about fashion, but I could tell from the fabric and the cut that it was incredibly expensive. Putting on this suit meant that from this day forward, I was Leo Sterling, the Prince of Sterling Holdings. But I was still Caleb Jensen, because when I finally appeared before the crowd, my face was hidden behind a mask. High-stakes inheritance battles are often won through the simplest of means. Even with the ironclad agreement my mother forced my father to sign, his illegitimate children still believed that if they got rid of me, one of them could take my place. My mother said the threats against me weren't fully neutralized yet. Until every hidden enemy was rooted out, I couldn't show my true face. So for the next few years, I lived a double life. To the world, Leo Sterling was a recluse, his face tragically disfigured in an accident, forcing him to wear a mask at all times. When the mask came off, I was still Caleb Jensen. After high school, I enrolled at NYU. On campus, I was Caleb Jensen, the quiet, nerdy guy who rarely joined clubs, kept to himself, and occasionally won a scholarship. At Sterling Holdings, I was Leo Sterling, the masked heir apparent, attending board meetings with my father, learning the ropes, and methodically preparing to take over the company. This dual identity was what kept me safe through 4 years of college. On graduation day, my roommates were packing up our dorm room, ready to scatter to different corners of the world. Some were heading to grad school, others were chasing jobs at big tech companies. "Caleb, what's your plan?" One of them asked. "I've got an interview on Sunday." "Just one? Aren't you applying to more places?" "What if you don't get it?" "If I don't get it," I said with a shrug, "I guess I'll have to go home and inherit the family business." They all laughed, thinking I was joking, but I was telling the truth. I was interviewing at Sterling Holdings. On the day of the interview, I stood in a long line of nervous graduates snaking down a hallway. My eyes were drawn to a girl ahead of me, bent over, searching for something on the floor. I watched her for a moment, and slowly, her silhouette merged with a memory I often replayed in my mind. "Maya." She looked up, but her eyes were unfocused, scanning the crowd blankly. I had imagined our reunion countless times, but I never thought it would happen like this. "What are you looking for?" I asked, moving closer. "What did you say?" It was her. It was definitely Maya Torres. Her contact lens had fallen out, and just like in high school, without her glasses, she couldn't hear a thing. "Is it the only pair you brought?" I helped her search for a minute, but it was hopeless. We gave up. "I have my glasses, but my roommates said they make me look dorky." She pulled a familiar, worn-out glasses case from her bag. When she put them on, I saw they were the same pair I'd bought for her years ago. She had changed. She was more beautiful now. But the moment she put on those glasses, I saw the same Maya from my memories. "No, they don't. I think you look great in them," I said, my voice softer than I intended. We talked for a while. I had always assumed she'd gone to a top university in the South, as she'd planned. With her grades, she could have had her pick, but she had stayed in New York. Her SAT scores weren't high enough. She ended up at a decent, but not top-tier city college. Right before finals, her father's health had taken a turn for the worse. She had spent day and night caring for him, and finally collapsed from exhaustion during her last exam. Hearing this, I didn't dare ask how devastating that must have been for her. Throughout college, she'd worked multiple jobs while taking care of her father. He had passed away just before her graduation. "I don't have a family anymore," she said, "so it doesn't matter where I am." But she'd managed to get into a master's program at NYU. She was starting in the fall and was looking for an internship in the meantime. She told me all this with a breezy, matter-of-fact tone, but I knew she must have gone through hell. "Let me see your resume." She handed me the 2-page document. "This is impressive. Really excellent," I said, flipping through it. She had interned at several major companies and worked on some impressive projects. Her grades were stellar. She'd won scholarships every year, and she'd been active in student government. What's with the formal tone? You sound like an interviewer. Are you going to hire me? She teased. I might. I could hire you to be my bodyguard again. Dream on, she said with a proud tilt of her chin. You can't afford this bodyguard anymore. That easy, familiar feeling between us was back. Maya passed her interview. She was hired as an intern in a low-level department at Sterling Holdings. My interview results came in too. I was placed in the same department. That's great. We'll be colleagues, she texted me on her first day, asking when I'd be at the office. I was already there, of course, just a few floors above her. Mr. Sterling, here is a short list of candidates who passed the interview process, my executive secretary, William, said, placing a stack of resumes on my desk. I was looking for a new personal assistant. I took the stack, and one resume caught my eye. The photo was heavily airbrushed, but the name was unmistakable, Veronica Dunn. I said, pointing. William's expression flickered with surprise for a split second before returning to its usual professional calm. Veronica's resume was, to put it mildly, unimpressive compared to the others. She must have pulled some strings to even get this far. When Veronica received her offer letter, she was at a club with Tiffany Roth. Holy! She stared at the email on her phone, frozen. What is it? Tiffany snatched the phone from her hand. When she saw the screen, her face soured. I got a job at Sterling. Veronica squealed. What? Oh my God. Sterling, as in Sterling Holdings? Let me see. OMG. And you're going to be Mr. Sterling's assistant. Their friends swarmed around Veronica, instantly making her the center of attention. Someone accidentally bumped into Tiffany. It's just an assistant. What's the big deal? Tiffany sneered. Mr. Sterling already has William. You'll just be a glorified gopher, getting coffee, making copies. It's a thankless, dead-end job. The sudden cold water thrown on her excitement left Veronica looking awkward, but she forced a smile for Tiffany. You're right, Tiff. Tiffany snorted. Besides, you definitely lied on your resume. You can't even make a simple spreadsheet. How did you get a job at Sterling? Veronica's face flushed with humiliation, but she could only manage a weak, apologetic smile. You're right. I'm just a lowly assistant. Nothing compared to the future Mrs. Sterling. The others in their group wisely said nothing. So, Tiff, when are you and Mr. Sterling getting married? We need to know when to get our wedding gifts ready. Tiffany's triumphant expression returned. Soon. After I win my first major acting award, probably. Leo is always rushing me to get married, but I've told him over and over I want to focus on my career first. We're both very career-driven people, you know. Standing nearby, Veronica couldn't help but mutter under her breath. Bullshit. Veronica started her new job. William, my secretary, brought her to meet me. Has William explained your duties to you? Do you understand everything? Yes, sir. Absolutely. She stood before me, head bowed respectfully. I remembered how arrogant and cocky she used to be when she was bullying me and Maya at school. She was a completely different person now. She seemed afraid of me, and I was still wearing the mask. The rumors about me had gotten wild. Some said my face was a grotesque horror show, that I looked like a monster. Organize these files William gave you. I need them on my desk tomorrow morning. What? Veronica couldn't help but look up. William had given her a gigabyte of documents. If she was going to have that ready by tomorrow, she wouldn't be sleeping tonight. Is there a problem? I asked coolly. No problem at all. Veronica had no choice but to agree. If you can't do it, I won't force you. Just tell William to find a replacement. I can do it, Veronica said hastily. It was her first day in her dream job. The last thing she wanted was to seem incompetent. She showed up the next day at 4 in the afternoon, just before closing time, dark circles under her eyes. She handed me the organized files. She told me she hadn't slept since she got the documents, working for over 20 hours straight. I don't want to hear excuses. I only care about results, I said flatly. And your work is mediocre. Veronica's face crumpled, and tears welled up in her eyes. But this was just the beginning. I was going to teach her what it felt like to be in a position she didn't deserve. I stood up and left the office. Mr. Sterling, where are you going? She asked, overstepping her bounds. Downstairs for breakfast. From 7 to 9 in the morning, I worked efficiently as Leo Sterling. After handling my executive duties, I take my private elevator downstairs and transform into Caleb Jensen, the everyday office worker. What is with you? This is the second time you've been late this month. One more time, and you lose your perfect attendance bonus. Maya scolded, handing me my breakfast. Can't help it. The subway was a nightmare, I said, taking the coffee and breakfast burrito from her. It was a little cold. Why is the burrito cold today? Because you were so late, she shot back with an eye roll. She always brought it when it was still hot. You should just leave home earlier. I get up at 6, I'm on the train by 7, and I get to the office right on time. Maya lived far away, a 2-hour commute each way, for hours on the train every single day. But even so, she'd wake up early and grab 2 coffees and 2 burritos from the shop near her place. It was our morning ritual. Why don't you find a place closer to work? Easy for you to say. The rent around here is $700 more a month than what I pay now. That's over $8,000 a year. For that much, I could cover 3 or 4 months of my current rent. She counted it out on her fingers. Yeah, that is a lot, I conceded. Maya was always frugal. Even though she was on her own now and didn't have any major expenses, she still watched every penny. Your birthday's next month, isn't it? How did you know? How could I not know? The rainy day we said our goodbyes all those years ago was her birthday. But I just said, I saw it on your resume. Your memory's that good? You just glanced at it and remembered. She sounded skeptical, but the corners of her lips tilted up in a small smile. Let me take you out to dinner for your birthday. Nope, she cut me off. My treat. Just like she'd said all those years ago. All right, what are we eating? I didn't argue. Anything but Pizza Hut, she said, getting up to microwave my burrito. Maya was brilliant, and she excelled at her job. Her first project was a huge success, and she got a hefty bonus for it. Come on, I'm treating you to a fancy dinner tonight. I pretended to be surprised. Where do you get the money for that? You questioning my finances? Maya took me to a high-end restaurant on the Upper West Side, in one of the city's most luxurious districts. I wasn't the same broke kid I used to be, and I'd seen my share of fancy places. But being here with Maya felt special. She placed the menu in front of me and waved her hand magnanimously. Order whatever you want. I glanced at the menu, where entrees had 4-figure price tags, and suddenly remembered something. I don't think I brought Leo Sterling's credit card today. Are you sure you have enough money? I had to ask. If I don't, they can keep you here to wash dishes, she joked. Maya was having a great time. In her excitement, she ordered a lot of wine. She said she'd never really drunk before and wanted to try it. I couldn't stop her. You know, the day you left, she started, her words slurring slightly. I went to class like normal and saw your empty seat. I thought you were just out sick again. But then the teacher said you weren't coming back and asked the kids around your desk to pack up your things. I didn't believe you were gone. Your workbook was still open on your desk. I'll never forget it. You were on question 23, and you had just started writing out the formula for the next one. How could you just leave like that? She was drunk, bringing up the old wound of my sudden departure. I was the one who said I was leaving, but you left first, and we were supposed to have a farewell dinner. I waited for you for so long that day, but you never came. Do you have any idea that was my birthday? She reached for the wine bottle to pour another glass, but she missed, spilling it on the table. That's enough, I said, stopping her. She slumped onto the table, still mumbling. I just kept thinking you would show up. I waited and waited, but you never came. I was there that day, I said softly. Maya was drunk. She was in the restaurant's restroom, throwing up. As worried as I was, all I could do was wait for her outside. Ugh, who is that? If you can't handle your liquor, don't drink. It stinks in there, a sharp voice complained. Tiffany Roth emerged from the restroom, flicking water from her undried hands, a look of disgust on her face. She did a double take when she saw me, then looked me up and down. Well, if it isn't an old classmate. What was your name again? That Caleb guy. Caleb Jensen, I said. Oh, right. Caleb Jensen. You're doing pretty well for yourself, huh? Eating at a place like this. Tiffany pointed at me, clearly having had a few drinks herself. I remember seeing you at that hotel once. Are you secretly rich or something? I had no desire to catch up with her, or ever see her again. I stepped aside, trying to let her pass. But she wouldn't leave, instead stumbling closer to me. You look different after all these years. Kinda cute, actually. She reached out with her damp hand, trying to touch my face. The overpowering smell of cheap perfume and alcohol hit me, and I quickly stepped back. Her eyes were bloodshot, her expression disturbingly excited. This was more than just being drunk. Please have some self-respect, I said, swatting her hand away. Ooh, still the same bad attitude. Just like you always were. My coldness didn't seem to faze her this time. She didn't press the issue, instead turning and walking out of the restaurant to a flashy, neon green Lamborghini. There weren't many cars like that in the city. It looked familiar, so I made a point of looking at the license plate. Sure enough, it was Dylan's car. Tiffany and Dylan started making out in the front seat, completely oblivious to the people passing by. Let's go. Maya came out of the restroom. I rushed to her side. Are you feeling any better? She looked pale, pouting as she shook her head. I'm never drinking that crap again. Seeing Tiffany again brought back memories. Her name had come up in my family's home more than once over the years. I'd heard she'd gone to film school and, with her family's connections, had landed roles in a few shows. None of them were hits, but she'd become a minor celebrity. Her father had done business with mine in the past, and was always trying to set us up. Even though he'd never met me, he knew that marrying his daughter into the Sterling family was the best return on his investment he could hope for. My father never committed, and the engagement rumors were all started by her dad. But this time, I heard my own father bring up her name. After I turned 18 and officially rejoined the family, my mother insisted my father and I have dinner together, just the two of us, every 2 weeks. The purpose was to bond. Leo, you're, what, 21 this year? I looked up. 22. My own father couldn't remember my age. 22, right? Well, legally, you're old enough to get married. I nodded. That was true. Does your mother have anyone in mind for you? He asked tentatively. No. She says it's too soon. There's no rush. I see. He seemed relieved. I didn't say anything else. And after a moment, he added, have you heard of Tiffany Roth? She's a young actress. It was the first time my father had ever mentioned her to me. For some reason, he had started trying to play matchmaker. When my mother found out, she tore into him. Don't you dare project your own disgusting ideas onto Leo. My son is not a bargaining chip for your business deals, she yelled. You ruined my life, and now you want to ruin our son's? I'm telling you, Arthur, whoever my son marries will have to get through me first. My father just nodded meekly and never mentioned Tiffany's name in front of me again. But Tiffany took it upon herself to come to our home. She arrived with a pile of gifts, dressed impeccably, and sweetly greeted my parents. My mother gave her one look and walked out. My father told us to chat alone. She sat in the grand living room, facing me. Through my mask, I could see she was holding a strained, fake smile and had deliberately put some distance between us on the couch. You know, I've never actually been in a relationship. I don't know about you, she said, trying to act coy, her usually raspy, smoker's voice now high and squeaky. She was clearly trying to start a conversation, but I didn't bite. Want some fruit? Seeing my silence, she picked up an apple and offered it to me. I knew what she was after. My face was badly burned. If I took off my mask, I'm afraid it would scare you. Of course not. Soon, we'll be family. We'll be living together every day. How could I be scared? I almost laughed. She was really leaning into this role, already seeing herself as the next Mrs. Sterling. I just remembered I have an urgent meeting to attend. Please excuse me. I stood up and left her alone in the living room. After I left, Tiffany sat for a moment, then looked around. Seeing no one, she stood up and walked confidently toward the back garden. You came to see Leo. What are you doing back here with me? He's in a meeting. He won't be back for a while. In a hidden corner of the estate, Tiffany and Dylan were meeting. What are you doing? Here? Are you crazy? There was a rustling sound. What's the big deal? This is my house. Your house. Your father doesn't even acknowledge you as his son in public. He only cares about that, Leo. A sharp cry of pain from Tiffany. It seemed she'd hit a nerve with Dylan, and he'd gotten rough. Don't you worry. This family will be mine, sooner or later. And when it is, there won't be a Leo Sterling anymore. Well, you better hurry it up. That freak Leo. I can't imagine how disgusting his face is under that mask. The thought of having to look at him every day makes me want to puke. Don't worry. I promise you, he won't live to see 23. Though Dylan and Tiffany had carefully avoided all the estate security cameras, they couldn't avoid the ones I had installed, especially in this courtyard, where a high-definition camera was recording their every word and move. By the way, have your old classmate keep a closer eye on him. Isn't she his assistant now? Veronica? Ugh, she's an idiot. I'd have better luck relying on myself. Maya's work was excellent. She was promoted from intern to a full-time position ahead of schedule. Of course, that had nothing to do with me. Even though I was Leo Sterling, the boss, I never gave her any special treatment. She earned it all on her own. The day she got her promotion happened to be her birthday. She insisted on treating me to dinner. But instead of a restaurant, we went to her place. It was a small, 3-bedroom apartment she shared with roommates, and she only had one tiny room to herself. My roommates are out for the night. I already told them you were coming over, she said. She spent hours in the kitchen, cooking up a feast. Every time I tried to help, she kicked me out. I was relegated to the couch, where I played with her fat cat. Hey, this doesn't feel right. It's your birthday, but you're the one doing all the work. Oh, please. You have a conscience? I doubt you'd feel guilty about anything, she shot back, telling me to get up and set the table. Her cooking was amazing. We polished off every dish, leaving nothing behind. Make a wish, I said after dinner, turning off the lights and lighting the candles on her cake. The warm candlelight illuminated her face. She clasped her hands together, closed her eyes, and made a wish. A long moment later, she opened her eyes and blew out the candles. The room was plunged into darkness, but I didn't move to turn on the lights. What did you wish for? I asked. She didn't answer. In the dark, I could only see her silhouette. She seemed to lean closer. I felt a soft pressure on my lips. She was kissing me. Meow. The fat cat darted away. And just like that, Maya and I were together. I had actually planned to confess my feelings that night, but I never expected her to make the first move. I gave her a gift. What's this? A piece of paper. We were cuddled on the couch, still in the dark. I held her hand. It was a little cold. In the dim moonlight filtering through the window, she couldn't make out the words. My autograph, I said. Oh, how valuable, she said, her tone mock dramatic. Of course. Well, I better keep it safe then. She got up, fumbled her way back to her room in the dark, and placed the paper in her nightstand drawer before returning to my arms. If she had looked at that piece of paper more closely, she would have seen it was the deed to a condo. I had bought her a place not far from Sterling Holdings. While Maya was getting promoted, our old classmate Veronica was repeatedly messing up. This was the 7th time this month she had ended up crying in my office. Does crying solve the problem? I'm sorry, Mr. Sterling. I'm so sorry. It's all my fault. She repeated her apologies, snot and tears streaming down her face. She looked years older than when she'd started, with dark circles etched under her eyes. I'm giving you one last chance, I told her. This next task is for my most important project right now. If you screw this up, you're fired. Veronica left my office, sobbing uncontrollably. I went downstairs and saw Maya wasn't at her desk. I found her in the break room, comforting Veronica. Come on, stop crying. When work feels hard, it just means you're growing in your career. They were classmates once, after all. Even though they had their issues, Veronica didn't have many friends at the office. Whenever she got chewed out, she'd run to Maya for comfort. Sniff. But the work is just so hard. What's so hard about it? It just is. You haven't seen it. You wouldn't know. Maybe you could take a look for me. All right, I'll look at it. Veronica latched onto Maya. Under the guise of asking for help, she was really just pawning off her work. Then you should just let her get fired, I told Maya later. Ugh, you have no idea how much of a mess her work is. Then why are you still helping her? I was getting annoyed. Look, it's for the company. I heard this task is tied to a huge project. If it gets messed up, it will reflect badly on everyone. I should at least oversee it. Hearing her say that, I felt a pang of guilt. I still hadn't told her who I really was. By the way, Veronica said there's a high school reunion this weekend. She wants us both to go. Are you going? I didn't want to. Reunions were just a chance for the successful people to show off. Real friends didn't need a party to stay in touch. We should go, Maya sighed. I heard Mr. Davison is sick. They say he doesn't have much time left. So, Maya and I went to the reunion. The moment we walked in, we heard Veronica complaining. That asshole boss of mine, he dumps all the work on me and then disappears all day. He's totally unpredictable, and all he does is yell at me. I swear he's deliberately torturing me. And that mask is so creepy. I can't imagine how ugly his face must be under there. A group of classmates gathered around her, offering sympathy. What's all the excitement about? Tiffany Roth sauntered in. Veronica immediately clammed up, and the people around her scattered. Everyone knew the asshole boss she was talking about was Tiffany's supposed fiancé. Tiffany, when do we get to celebrate your wedding? The crowd shifted their attention to her. Soon, Tiffany said, a blissful expression on her face. He's been inviting me over to his place all the time lately. It's so embarrassing. I keep telling him, we're not married yet. I can't just be over there all the time. And he just bought me this diamond ring. He said he'll get me an even bigger one for the proposal. She flicked her hair back, showing off a massive diamond on her finger. The wedding is tentatively set for next year, around his 23rd birthday. I'll be 25 then, and a psychic told me that's a turning point in my destiny. Everyone showered her with congratulations, convinced she and the Sterling heir were a match made in heaven. Only I watched her one-woman show with a cold attachment. Honestly, her acting was terrible. I heard the class president and Caleb are together now. Tiffany's gaze swept the room, finally landing on Maya and me, who had been standing quietly in a corner. I took Maya's warm hand in mine. We are. You two actually got together? I guess it makes sense. The freak and the 4 eyes, she sneered. The classmates around her erupted in laughter. Veronica glanced at us, but said nothing. I hear you two work with Veronica at the same company, Tiffany continued, turning to her friend. You're all old classmates. Veronica, you should take care of them, help them out a little. Of course, Veronica said with a forced smile. Little did they know, she was relying on Maya to do all her work. I felt Maya's hand tighten into a fist, and I gently patted it to soothe her. So, when are you two getting married? Class president? I want to make sure I get you a nice gift, Tiffany pressed, refusing to let go. When I turn 23, I said, that's just a couple of years away. You have a house? A car? No. Then what the hell are you getting married for? Tiffany rolled her eyes and turned away. The ballroom doors opened, and Mr. Davison walked in. Class, it's been a long time. His hair was almost all gone now, and he looked much older. In just 4 or 5 years, he had become frail and stooped. Mr. Davison. Maya stood up and pulled out the chair next to her for him. Mr. Davison, sit here, Tiffany said, pointing to the empty seat beside her. Mr. Davison glanced at Maya, then turned and walked over to sit next to Tiffany. Just as I predicted, Veronica pawned her work off on Maya. She planned to take the credit if it went well and let Maya take the fall if it failed. Maya knew it too, but she had promised to help, and she spent her nights and weekends working overtime. I tried to convince her to stop, but she was stubborn. She'd given her word, and more importantly, she couldn't stand by and watch a major company project fail. I couldn't stop her. I had myself transferred to a different department under Dylan. He didn't have any real power in the company, but my father had given him a cushy, do-nothing job to keep him comfortable. Dylan wasn't satisfied. He thought his department was a dead end with no real influence. He spent his days scheming, looking for a way to get ahead, instead of actually learning how to manage. So, I decided to give him a hand. I knew he was day trading, and most of his money was tied up in losing stocks. I couldn't blame him. A guy with his brains had no business playing the market. I found an opportunity to get close to him, offering him some insider tips. One thing led to another. I turned his portfolio around, and he even made a small profit. Dylan was ecstatic. He decided I was a genius. He didn't recognize me at all. In his mind, I was still that insignificant kid Mr. Zhang had claimed was a distant relative. Dylan started to trust me. He was in my office every other day. He even gave me a promotion, promising me the world. I, in turn, pledged my loyalty, promising to help him with any problem he faced. He became reckless in front of me, saying whatever he wanted, letting his guard down completely. Damn it, I have no idea what Leo is up to now. Dylan complained loudly on the phone in his office. I knocked softly on the door. Mr. Sterling, you wanted to see me? Dylan waved me in without hanging up. They promised us this project, and now, at the last minute, they've given it to another department, he continued to rant. I sat quietly on the couch and listened. When he finally hung up, I started to console him. Mr. Sterling, was it about that new project? Dylan shot me a look. Yeah, that's the one. Now we can't do it. I sighed dramatically, echoing his frustration. That's such a shame. We were more than halfway done. To just hand it over to another department now. They're going to reap all the rewards. That got him going. Exactly. It's a real pity. All our hard work, and we don't even get a taste. I know. It's all Leo's fault. He's running this place into the ground. I took his side. You're absolutely right. If you ask me, you're the real Mr. Sterling around here. With a few well-placed compliments, I had Dylan eating out of my hand. He started bad-mouthing me, Leo, openly. Caleb, my man, I'm not just bragging, but if Sterling Holdings was in my hands, it would be 1,000 times better than it is now. No doubt about it, I said with conviction. I had become Dylan's loyal lapdog. He thought our interests were aligned, and I was easy to control. He started asking me to spy on Leo to find out what big project he was working on. What have you been up to lately? You moved departments, and now you don't tell me anything, Maya said, a concerned look on her face. I rubbed my temples. My new boss is a nightmare. He's an idiot, so I have to do all the work. Maya frowned. Dylan doesn't have a great reputation. But since you're working for him now, just do your job and keep your head down. Don't let him drag you into any of his schemes. I pulled her into my arms, smoothing the worry lines from her forehead. Don't worry, I'll be fine. When my mother found out Maya and I were dating, she slapped me. Why didn't you tell me sooner? She demanded, her voice sharp. Maya, she cut me off, her words slow and deliberate. I am asking you why you didn't tell me sooner. I was afraid I would break you up. Mom. She stared at me for a long time, then let out a deep sigh. So, this is the kind of mother you think I am? I realized then that she wasn't angry that I was dating Maya. I had always assumed that since she had planned my entire life, she would also handpick my future wife. But she was angry that I had hidden it from her, that I hadn't trusted her. I don't object to you and Maya being together, she said finally. I raised you. I know you wouldn't choose someone who wasn't right for you, but you need to be sure. Are you truly committed to her? You're still young. You'll meet many more people in your life. What if one day you find someone better than Maya? Will you still stand by her? I knew what she was worried about. After all, my father fell for every woman he met. She was afraid I had inherited that gene. There is no one better, I said. The one I have now is the best. Dylan took the bait. He believed my story about Leo planning a massive bid for a huge contract. The potential profit was astronomical. Dylan was desperate for a piece of it, but he had no way in. Mr. Sterling, if that's the case, why don't we do it ourselves? I suggested. Ourselves. Dylan looked at me, hesitant. We can set up a shell corporation, use Sterling's resources to bid against him. If we win, we take the money and run. Who needs Sterling Holdings? We'll be the new Sterling Holdings. I gave him the chance to compete, but he was too scared. Without the safety net of Sterling Holdings, Dylan had no confidence in his own abilities. So I proposed another idea. Well, what if we find one of the competing companies, leak them some information, and when they win the bid, they give us a cut? Dylan was much more interested in that idea. But Leo is guarding this project so closely. Where are we going to get the information? I have a high school classmate, Veronica Dunn. I hear she's an assistant in Mr. Sterling's office. Dylan raised an eyebrow. He knew who Veronica was. Why would she help us? I hear she's had a rough time working for Leo. If another Mr. Sterling were to throw her a lifeline right about now. I didn't need to finish. The smirk on Dylan's face told me he already had a plan. The project Maya helped Veronica with, as expected, had a problem. I summoned Veronica to my office. Do you know why I called you in here? My voice was low and laced with anger. Veronica was so scared she didn't dare look up. Mr. Sterling, I'm not sure. Could you please clarify? You've always felt that I've been hard on you. When William started, I gave him a gigabyte of files to organize, too. He also pulled an all-nighter, but he delivered it the next morning, perfectly done. That was the longest it ever took him. After that, he could do the same task in 4 hours, sometimes 2. You've been in this position for 6 months, and you've shown zero improvement. You're useless. Why am I paying a salary to someone who is useless? Veronica started crying again. Now, about your last project. Veronica flinched. She thought the project Maya had done for her had failed. I stared at her. Did you do it yourself? Veronica broke down and confessed everything. I wasn't familiar with the work, and I was so busy. So I asked Maya to take a look. But she kept saying my work wasn't good enough and insisted on redoing it. And this is how it turned out. She was a natural at shifting blame. So you're saying Maya did this work? I pressed. Veronica nodded. Get her in here. Maya and Veronica stood before me. Veronica says you did this work. Maya glanced at the sniveling, head-bowed Veronica and instantly understood she'd been set up to take the fall. Yes, I did, Maya said, her voice firm. Is there a problem with it? No problem, I said. It was excellent. What? Veronica's head shot up in surprise. Go to HR and collect your bonus, I told Maya. Thank you, Mr. Sterling. Maya shot a look at Veronica and walked out, leaving a stunned, tear-streaked Veronica frozen in place. Do you have any other questions? I asked Veronica. No, no more questions. Then what are you still standing here for? Veronica ran out of my office, crying again. But this time, no matter how loudly she cried in the break room, a soft-hearted Maya wasn't going to be there to comfort her. Instead, Dylan took his chance and approached her. While I was still in my office, my phone rang. It was Maya. Where are you? At my desk. I answered casually. I'm at her desk, too. I don't see you. I shot up and rushed downstairs. Since moving to Dylan's department, my desk had been relocated to the adjacent building. We were still on the same campus, but it was a 7 or 8 minute walk between our offices. She rarely came to find me, so I've been spending more time in my executive office lately. By the time I breathlessly reached her, her face was full of suspicion. Where were you? I was picking up a package. I was panting from the run. Maya's eyes narrowed. What package? Show me. It was for Mr. Sterling. I took it to his office. I just came for Dylan's office. I didn't see you there. It was Maya, after all. She was too smart to be fooled so easily. We must have just missed each other. What's up? Is something wrong today? I felt a little guilty under her scrutinizing gaze. It's nothing. I just haven't seen you all day. I wanted to see you, she said softly. But we're going home together tonight. Is there something you want to tell me? She asked suddenly. A bad feeling crept up on me, but I looked around. This wasn't the time or place. She waited for a long moment, as if giving me a chance. Are you having a bad day at work? Maybe we can talk about it at home tonight. I asked tentatively. She sighed. It's fine. By the way, where's that bracelet I made for you the other day? She was referring to a gold bracelet she had insisted on weaving for me at a jewelry store after she got paid. It's right here. I habitually reached for my left wrist, but my fingers touched the cold, heavy metal of Leo Sterling's Rolex, which was also on my left wrist. I froze. Maya saw my reaction and grabbed my hand. She pushed at my sleeve. Where did you get this watch? She asked, her voice low. I was speechless. She looked into my eyes. Maya, let me explain. Slap. She hit me, then turned and stormed away. Maya had been doing so well at work. I heard she was up for another promotion. After that, her salary would be double mine. Then you can be my sugar mama. I'd joked in her rented apartment, cuddling with her. She still hadn't seen the condo I'd bought her, and I hadn't found the right time to tell her the truth about my identity. But she had found out anyway, in the worst possible way, in a way that made her feel like I had been deliberately deceiving her. You made me feel like I've been a complete fool this whole time, she'd said, her voice shaking with anger. For days, I didn't see her. She took time off work. I went to her apartment, but she refused to open the door, no matter how much I knocked. The only response was the sad meow of her fat cat from inside. It sounded like it was blaming me, too. I sat glumly in my office, trying to figure out how to properly apologize to Maya. Veronica sidled up to my desk. Mr. Sterling, have some water. She had her professional smile on now. She wasn't as scared of me anymore. Let me help you organize these files. Her eyes were fixed on the scattered papers on my desk. I knew that was her real goal. Fine, I said, waving a hand, letting her see whatever she wanted. After all, she could only see what I allowed her to see. Veronica started passing information to Dylan. Soon enough, they were hooking up. The news quickly got back to Tiffany. She cornered Veronica in a KTV lounge and brutally beat her, slamming her head against the table over and over again. You dare try to steal my man? Veronica, you must have a death wish. Veronica was left bloody and bruised. But the more Tiffany hurt her, the more Veronica hated her. The two of them were now sworn enemies.